Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Moving to Australia. Today's podcast we would be discussing regional migration, subclass 491 and 494. There are many ways for skilled migrants to work and live in Australia and make it their permanent home. Regional migration is one such way to make this move a possibility. The regional migration program consists of 2 skilled regional provisional visas that provide a pathway to permanent residence, a skilled regional permanent resident visa, subclass 191, additional points under the skilled migration points test for skilled migrants nominated to live and work in regional Australia, and more options for international students who graduate from regional universities. I'm your host Arun Belur, and with me in the studio is the founder of Debika Migration Services, Amitava Deb. Amitava, welcome to another episode. How are you doing?
I'm good, Arun. Thank you. How are you? Good evening.
I'm very well. So, Amitava, regional migration program has gone through some recent changes. So,
Yes.
for the benefit of our listeners, let them know what has changed in the last couple of years.
Earlier we had a subclass known as subclass 489, which had a pathway to PR through subclass 887. That has been changed to subclass 491 and 494. 494 being employer nominated, 491 being independent regional migration for general skilled category, and both have a pathway to PR through subclass 191. So we can talk about details.
Okay. So, when the government says regional areas, can you give us more detail about what they mean by that? What are designated regional areas according to the Department of Home Affairs?
So there's a lot of confusion around regional areas. People from other countries, they confuse regional with rural. They probably think they're going to the villages where there'll be cows and hens running around and they have to live in a hut. It's not like that. You know, to draw an analogy, you have central headquarters and regional headquarters, which means usually corporate headquarters in one particular area, and then you have got branches in other major cities. Similarly, they have coined this term regional to distinguish between major cities of Australia and all other cities or all other areas of Australia. So anything in Australia other than the metropolitan areas of Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane are regional. Regional, of course, is divided into 2 categories. There are major regional cities or major regional centers, and then far regional. Major regional cities are cities like Perth, Adelaide, Canberra, and then cities around Sydney and Melbourne. Cities around Sydney will be Wollongong, Newcastle, Blue Mountains, and around Melbourne would be Geelong. So these are category 2 regional areas, and then there are category 3 regional areas, which is everything else.
Does the Sunshine Coast and Gold Coast also fall under category 2?
Yes, they do, because Sunshine Coast and Gold Coast are not far from Brisbane.
Now, you mentioned that a lot of your customers mistake regional as being rural. So, what is the reality of living in a regional area compared to Australia's 3 biggest cities, Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane?
Regional areas are smaller, lesser population, and hence lesser opportunities. So I guess there is a fear that if you do not go to those bigger cities, the opportunities will be less. What we forget is that although opportunities are more in bigger cities, the competition is also higher. So really, it boils down to a very similar thing. You need to, of course, make your choice carefully about which regional area or which regional city you should move to. It depends on your background. So if, for example, somebody has a background in engineering or Manufacturing, they could choose Newcastle or Wollongong. If you're a civil engineer, you could choose Boral, for example, which is a little outside Sydney.
Now, you've been in New South Wales all your life. So, if you were to look at just regional cities in
Hmm.
New South Wales,
Hmm.
what would be the employment opportunities in your opinion? Which are the biggest industries there where people can seek employment if they do move there?
Newcastle is the center of a lot of traditional mineral-based industries like mining. So Newcastle will be good for those people, geologists, petroleum engineers, um, and Wollongong being a port city, there are more opportunities for marine or navy-related occupations.
What about people moving from healthcare? Because we read about how the healthcare industry is lacking registered nurses, doctors, and there are people moving in from different parts of the world.
Healthcare, there is opportunity, or there are a lot of vacancies all over Australia, all over regional areas. There's a shortage of healthcare people. And we did a podcast last week with some other provider, I think NDIS provider, about the
Yes.
healthcare industry. So there are a lot of jobs. Of course, one has to have the background and experience. And there are several pathways to temporary as well as permanent visas in regional areas, including Dama.
Okay. Now, you did mention a while back about you're talking about 491 subclass 491, and you did mention that it is a state nominated regional subclass visa, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
Can one move from one regional area to another to seek better employment opportunities once they have their visa?
Technically, they can. Home Affairs do not care because all Home Affairs want to see is that the person is living and working and studying, or their family members are living, working, slash studying in regional areas. As long as they move around, it's okay. The state government might create problem. I have not seen any state government create any problem so far, but they might if they want to. We gave you nomination. You signed an agreement that you will be in our state, but you decided to move. But I doubt they will get in. They don't have the resources to pursue that.
Have any of your clients ever reported to you that once they move to regional Australia, the Department of Home Affairs try to reach out to them and try and see where they are living? Are they living in the nominated states?
Always, always, always. They will be, if it is 491, they will be periodically getting requests from the Home Affairs to update their address and their activities. So if they are working, where are they working? If they're living in Australia, what's their address? Provide evidence. And they might even do interviews over Zoom.
Does the grant letter categorically state that you have to live in the state in that nominated you? It
No,
does not, right?
no. 491 is a regional visa, designated area sponsored visa. It does not say which designated area, but it says you must be in a designated area. That's all Home Affairs cares.
Okay, got you. Now, subclass 494 is an employer nominated visa. Is it possible that while you're on that visa, you can switch your employer if you have a better opportunity from somewhere else?
Subclass 494 is very similar to Subclass 482. 482 is work or employer sponsored visa. We loosely call it work permit. So there is always a sponsor or a nominator for this type of visas. If an employer finds a job in a regional area that sponsors him under subclass 494, they will be able to move provided they find another employer willing to take over the nomination. So there is a process to transfer nomination. The government has indicated in their latest paper, the blueprint, that they are going to make this easier, this transition easier.
So that would mean less paperwork and less processing times.
Yeah, that's right. It'll be more streamlined.
If someone is on a 494 visa,
Mhm.
they have been sponsored by an employer, and if they lose their job, then what happens to them?
If they lose their job, they have to find another employer,
Within what time frame?
60 days,
Okay, and if they're not able to find a sponsor, then they have to leave the country.
or apply for another visa and be granted.
Now, moving over to Medicare,
Mhm.
which is something that a lot of your clients ask you. Is one entitled to Medicare when they are on 491 or a 494 visa?
They are.
How does one go about applying for Medicare?
494, I don't know. 494, I have not checked, sorry. But 491, yes, they are entitled to Medicare.
So once they arrive in Australia, how do they go about getting their Medicare? Can you just touch upon that quickly, if you don't mind?
They have to contact Services Australia, and there's a form to fill in. That's it.
It's all online.
All online.
Now, for people who arrive here with their kids
Mhm.
and they enroll their kids into schools in regional areas,
Mhm.
would they have to pay a tuition fee, or is the tuition fee waived even though you are on a 491 or a 494 visa for primary and secondary school?
The tuition fee will be waived in most cases. Most states waive the tuition fees. I don't know which ones do not, but as far as I know, most of the states do. New South Wales do not charge 491 holders.
If someone visits the Department of Education for any state, will they have all this information there tabulated for them? Based on the subclass, would you be paying a tuition fee or not?
I have not checked it. It's quite because the Department of Education is different for every state. So I don't
Yeah.
think it'll be in one particular area. You have to go to the website for every state separately and check.
And if that information is available, then we will mention that we will provide the links for those in the description of the podcast. Now, can an individual buy a property when they are on a regional visa? Will they be entitled to a home loan or a car loan?
It'll be difficult. Well, if they have a job, yes, they will be entitled to a home loan or a car loan. And are they entitled to buy property if they have money? Yes, they are, but they will be probably paying a higher stamp duty unless there is a trade agreement between their country of citizenship and Australia.
What is the stamp duty right now? What percentage is that of the property value? Are you aware of it?
It varies from state to state.
In New South Wales, it would be...
I have to check. Sorry, you got me there.
Okay, sorry. I thought you would know.
Not my area of expertise, but it's readily available.
Okay, and to wrap this discussion up,
Mhm.
what are the pathways available to PR for people who are on a regional visa? How long before they can become eligible to apply for a PR when they move here?
When they are on a regional visa, 491 or 494, they can apply under 191 after 3 years. And the only criteria they have to satisfy are A, they have to demonstrate they have lived for 3 years in a regional area, the main primary applicant. Number two, they have to demonstrate if they have worked in a regional area. Earlier, there was a requirement for minimum salary threshold. That requirement is gone. So if someone is on a 494 visa, 491 visa, they do not have to have any minimum salary. They can do any job, pay taxes, even if the taxation is zero, they can submit the taxation.
Do they have to meet a minimum number of hours worked per week?
No, Nothing. Nothing.
None of that. So you can be on a part-time for 3 years and still you can apply for a 191 and have your PR granted.
Correct. Which was not the case for 489. And since 489 is kind of gone, 8877 remains. For 887, whatever rule was there still remains. They have not made it simpler for 887 or 489 visa holders, which was the previous visa before 491 came into the picture.
All right, Amitava. Thank you for your time, as always.
Thank you, Arun.
And hope you have a good weekend. For those of you who are listening, if you have not subscribed to our podcast, please do so. Have a good weekend and we will see you next week. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Okay, bye-bye.